Hey, everybody, and welcome to Truth Tuesday. I'm Pastor Ken. Excited to be with you today. I just got out of a hearing just a few minutes ago, so I apologize. I'm just a few minutes late. But, I've just sort of been having some issues lately. I've been waking up in the middle of the night. There's a battle going on, and there are all these little battles that are going on, but I want to make sure that in your battles, the battles that you face, you do not lose the war. There are some people who are so concerned about the little battles, and the little battles are the ones that get your attention because they're the ones who cause irritation right away. They cause pain right away. They're the ones that get your attention, soak up your time right away in the present. But there are times when we need to take a step back. What's the real goal? What's the real objective? How important is this if you knew tomorrow you would not be here again? Would it be so important if you know tomorrow you're not going to be here? Would you want to die on this hill? So there are a series of scriptures that have come to my mind. In Romans chapter 8, of course, we hear about the difference or distinction that the Apostle Paul makes between being of the flesh and being of the spirit. And I'm specifically talking about Romans 8, 5 through 8. That's what has my attention. But I want to talk in a different way because I think I maybe get to the solution quicker. In Romans 12, the Apostle Paul tells us, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I will admit it, there are times when I'm frustrated. It seems like the biggest challenges may come from the people that you maybe have different expectations of. And that may be the way they feel about me as far as I'm concerned. It could certainly be the case. But if we're being transformed, that means that we're not going to stay the same. And for some of us, we have a working formula that has gotten us to this day. This is the way I always do this. This is the way I always approach that. And so that's the way I'm going to not only do it at work, but that's what I'm going to do at church. They pay me a lot of money to do it at work. So that must mean the church, if they knew what they were getting, they would appreciate what I have to bring them. They would appreciate my perspective. And I have been in a place where we have had an outstanding CPA, accountant type, bookkeeping type, financial consultant type person who is not the person that you necessarily want to be over the finances of the church, not because they don't have the capacity or capabilities. But when we're talking about having a ministry mindset means it will cost us something to provide ministry. A ministry mindset, and I don't have a problem with establishing things like budgets. And again, we're getting ready to do that pretty soon at our church anyway. It's the end of the year. But I have problems with people who put limits on the amount of ministry they're willing to give. And so I was on the phone today, and then I had a hearing with someone today. And it's astounding as we were talking about the court case that I was involved in, how individuals will seize the agenda for the church, and then they will, basically limit it or set a ceiling on it because of what they otherwise think, because of how they perceive and how they perceive things. They don't see ministry and opportunities necessarily the way Jesus would see them. Instead, they see them in a different way because they have an earthly responsibility that they are very good at or they're very in tune with. And so we had this case this morning. Turns out very well for my client. I'm very glad to say. I think he has a pretty good lawyer. He tell you the same thing today because I think that the money he'll get certainly exceeded what he started off with, but it will even exceed his wildest expectations. But in order to get those kinds of results, and he's a witness to this, and I've heard that he testified at another church recently about this, you have to change your outlook and realize that if the kingdom has arrived, then there's something about you that should be different. It's not the results. Quit looking at the battle. What happened in this case? Did you win? Did you get what you want? No, are you transformed because the kingdom has arrived? Are you seeking first the kingdom and his righteousness so that you are being transformed, not just formed in the way you have grown up, been trained, experienced, but being transformed because of the presence of his unlimited resources? Doesn't mean you go and you're being a fool with resources, but it means you are transformed in the way you see it. See, rich people see money I should say extremely wealthy people see money differently than poor people see money. For poor people, the answer to all their solutions is if they could get just a little bit more money. And for people who are wealthy, they need money, they want money, they like money, but they need opportunities and ideas. And so money is a means to achieve an idea. Money is a means to perform on a business concept or idea. It's not per se the end all. It's not what they live for. Because they have more money doesn't necessarily make them more wealthy. It's the fact that they have ideas and they know how to use money that makes them wealthy. So even if you found a wealthy person today and they became bankrupt tomorrow, you give them about another year and they're back in business. They will be doing something else. They'll because their mind has been changed by their experiences. They have been transformed by understanding money and how money works. They can then transform the landscape. You don't have to be rich to change your city skyline. You just need to know how to use money. And so a lot of people who have made a dent on your skyline may have at some point been broke, may have at some point been out of money, but that didn't stop them from doing what they needed to do. So I'm looking at Romans 12. I'm going to give you scripture. Like I said, I referenced Romans 8 earlier. I think that was verses 5 through 8. But I want to go to Romans 12 and 1 because it says, 12 and 2 says, and don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Your mind has to get renewed. Your mind doesn't need to get filled. Your mind needs to get renewed. When you hear the word, you don't need to memorize the word that you hear, but your mind needs to be renewed. It needs to be changed. As a matter of fact, I've said it before, you didn't receive the word. You did not understand the word if you're not standing on that word today. If that's not what's standing under you, you didn't understand that word. If it did not change your life, you didn't understand it. So the word is supposed to change us in a way that we are transformed. Our mind is transformed. And in Ephesians chapter 4, it starts talking about the spirit of our minds. So that we're supposed to become new because of the spirit of our minds. So we're to be renewed in Ephesians 4:23. Be renewed in the spirit of your mind, not the contents only of your mind, but the spirit of your mind. What is the attitude of your mind? That's what I'm talking about. Because again, you're going to face battles. You're going to face challenges. And if you aren't, that must mean that you're on the other team and don't know it. Because the enemy has set up principalities and powers and spiritual forces of wickedness and darkness that he uses to go after Jesus's disciples. And if you're not being attacked or don't run into opposition, spiritual opposition from time to time, then it may mean that you're on his team. So he doesn't need to bug you. You're already there. And he's concerned that if he does start challenging you, you're going to start praying and you're going to start growing and you're going to start speaking to things and praying about the things you speak to and speak over the things that you've prayed about. So don't get stuck in who you are in your prior success absent God, meaning absent him in a spiritual context. Continue to always be transformed by the renewing of your mind as you receive his word. Let that be what undergirds you. Let it be what you stand on so that you will be like a man who has built his house on a rock and not on sinking sand. Again, you have a whole lot of battles ahead. Step back for a minute and start thinking about the war, because the right perspective gets us transformed and also gets us to the end of the war with a victory. Thank you for joining us. And that's just the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you like this content, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that we can get higher on the algorithms and so more people like you can find us. Again, it's just the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I look forward to seeing you again next week. May God bless you and keep you. That's my prayer. I enjoyed today, y'all. I hope y'all did. May God bless you. Ha ha ha.